Now I'm on the next page that says equations with square roots. So let's start with level 1. I'm going to do these two examples and then you're going to try these, right? And then I'm going to do these two examples and you're going to try these and so on. Okay, so first, this says x squared equals 16. Okay, now remember, my goal when I go to solve an equation is to get x by itself. That's always my goal. And so if I have something like x plus 3 equals 5, what do I do on both sides? Well, I subtract 3. Why do I subtract 3? Because I'm doing the opposite of whatever's being done to x, right? So here's x, what's being done to it? Well, 3 is being added. So the opposite is I subtract 3, right? And I would get my answer. So here, what's being done to x? Well, it's being squared. So I want to do the opposite of whatever squared is because my goal is to undo everything, right? Like here I was undoing plus 3 so that I could get x by itself. So here I need to undo squared. Well, what's the opposite of squared? What undoes squaring a number? Remember that square rooting undoes it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to square root both sides. I'm going to square root both sides, right? See how I write it? Now look, I can do, so I like made myself a little extra step here just so you can see it, and I would recommend you do that. But like as you solve, you can just throw a square root sign over this. And the square root sign is called a radical. Right? This is called a radical. Okay. So you can just put the square root sign up here, but just to make it so that you could sort of see it step by step, I made it a separate step just so you can see for the examples. So I have my equation, x squared equals 16, right? And I square root both sides. So now, if I have a number squared and then square rooted, it just gives me the number back, right? And I can experiment and show you that. Like let's say, for example, let's take the number 5. If I square it, I get 25. And then if I then go ahead and square root it, I would get 5 back. So if I square a number and then I square root a number, it just gives me the same number back, right? So this x here is being squared and then square rooted, it's just going to give me x. And then on the other side of the equation, I have the square root of 16. Well, what's the square root of 16? It's 4. 4 times 4 equals 16. And this is my answer. Let's take a look at this one. Over here, what's happening to x? It's being square rooted, right? X is being square rooted. So what is the opposite of square rooting a number? Well, opposite of square rooting a number is squaring a number, right? So, and look what I'm going to do. I'm copying the equation just so that you can see it step by step, but you can actually just, when you're doing it, you can just like put squared, but I'm going to just show it to you in an extra step so you can see it. I'm going to square this, and then I'm going to square 9, right? And notice what I have is a number that's being square rooted and squared. Remember, those two things undo each other, right? So that's the same as me saying like, okay, here's a number. I'm going to add 3 and then subtract 3. Well, what do I get? Well, plus 3 minus 3, this just cancels and I end up with x. This is the same. I'm doing something and then I'm immediately undoing it. And so this just gives me x. And then on the other side, 9 squared is 81. Okay, and you can go back and check, right? You look, the square root of 81 is 9. That's correct. Look, 4 squared is 16. That's correct. Okay, so now it's your turn. So you're going to go and you're going to try these 8 problems.